I was pacing the floor, and the sounds of music began. It had been about 3 years. Many things had occurred since then. Nothing quite meant the same as it did when she was there. It was empty, and I was lost. No one could quite understand the pain. It was unbearable at times. And then one day, it changed. There was a shift. I can't quite explain what a shift is unless you've had one, where everything was the way it was, and then suddenly it was different. And it was good. And the peace that I felt that day when I was lost. It was on the mountaintops. I had taken quite a trip, and I was looking for something. And I was climbing, and the pack on my back was heavy, and my legs were tired. The boots that I was so comfortable in a couple hours earlier were not so comfortable anymore. But as I rose and I found the strength to carry on, there was a movement. It was as if something inside me reset. And I saw that the mountain that I had been cursing was suddenly an anchor of support. I found that the air that I was breathing was not coming in short bursts, but the breaths were deep and they were fulfilling. I could sense an energy flow just rushing through my veins. The nerves lit up. There were tingles all along my back. And if I could have explained it to someone, I would have said that love of my life, the one who I was no longer physically with, was there. And she hugged me. And the breeze, it risked being absurd as it came from the left and then whooshed around and came from the right. And then as it came from the back, it didn't touch me at all. It must have hit upon hers, for I felt protected on that mountaintop. And looking across, I could see for miles and miles and miles. peaks and ridges, valleys. And the joy that filled my heart was overwhelmingly at peace and in a congruence with me. I no longer had this alone feeling. I felt as if the entirety of all of creation was right there, right with me. I would have normally buckled down in tears, remembering and thinking about how beautiful she was and how wonderful she was. The smile, the laugh, her stories. But not today. Today I stood there, not thinking that maybe if I opened my eyes and looked behind me that there would be a person, but keeping my eyes straight and looking off in the horizon and knowing that her presence, whether physical or not, was entirely there. It's kind of funny. As I had started the climb and my hurt had reached a peak, I was so looking forward to reaching the top. I was so looking forward to what I would do when I got there. I was hoping to meet her again today. And instead she met me. Instead she met me. And so I didn't bring enough of anything to walk the trek back. I had purchased a one-way ticket. And yet now, with all my heart, I could see life in a new way. I could see hope. I felt compassion for that man that started the trek. And I began to mourn his being, his pain, for it didn't feel like me anymore. It was this other man. Who was that started that trek? And who is this that stands on top of the mountain? I called out and I shared what it was that I was feeling. It was a yell that was so full of confusion and joy mixed with the release of the anger and the hate, the denouncing of the Creator. I apologized and I fell to my knees. And now I was no longer surrounded by the spirit of my wife, but by all of those who loved me. And upon that mountaintop there were thousands, if not millions. There was love beyond love that I had ever experienced. And I received that forgiveness. I received that holiness. And the confusion, after several minutes, began to subside. And a clear picture emerged. My head bowed and my eyes closed. The vision of my future. The vision of a loving, holy, beautiful life. I saw friends. I saw us coming together, creating things. I saw us entertaining each other, laughing, sharing our lives with each other. I could see ourselves as young human beings, playing in the sandboxes, rolling the balls, running in the woods. In fact, it was a time where I can recall being how I felt today, full of life, full of vigor, full of enthusiasm. We wanted to build forts and we wanted to climb hills, and I didn't know that it would be a mountain that I would have to climb to remember. But upon reaching the top of the mountain, it was time. I looked around at all the things that could be, and it was a mystery. The kids, we were just in love with life, and remembering that now is so special. So special. I took my first step to begin declining and going back to the base. It would take me a few hours. My cantina was fairly empty. The food that I'd started with, I ate just a couple hours earlier. And so, though the pack was still full, I laid it down and I said goodbye. As I walked and I left the pack, I left behind my sorrow, and I left behind my hurt. And I heard a voice. And the voice said to stop. And I did. Go get the pack. And I said, but why? There's only pain in there. And the voice said, no. Go look and see. See what's in there. I'd barely recalled what I had stuffed in there. But I listened. And as I unzipped the pack, I started to recall all the mementos that were placed there. The picture, the frame, the face. And as I pulled out this beautiful picture of my wife and I as a couple, I broke down in tears, and I allowed for the sadness and the joy and the hurt and the pain to come up, to be felt. And as quick as it came up, it would just evaporate. As if the peace that had come upon me was so powerful that it could handle anything. And I just looked at the picture, and my wife's life and mine, it began to roll through the brain. And I saw the memories, and they began to come and come and come. And I was laughing and remembering and having such a glorious time right there, surrounded with love. Soon, a helicopter appeared in the distance. And apparently, I was their target. And as the helicopter became a close encounter, I realized that there was an area just at the peak of the mountain that it intended to drop down on, about 400 yards away from where I was sitting. My sister, my younger sister, emerged from the helicopter. She ran toward me. And she was screaming my name. And as she reached me, she could see that I was okay. She was so afraid of what I might do. And had I gone through with what I had intended, she might have seen quite a different scene. But what she saw was a stronger, a new, and an invigorated me. I picked up the pack and I put the picture back and I threw it over my shoulder. And arm in arm, I walked back to the helicopter with my sister. Not a word was spoken. The tears, they fell. Both of us knew. As the helicopter rose above that mountain, and I had a perfect view of it as we departed, I noticed something. There was a flag that I hadn't seen before. And it was standing on the very spot where I had stood and where I'd felt the embrace. And it was a white flag. And it had a symbol in the middle, and the wind was flipping it around. So I couldn't quite see exactly. Oh, there. It's a heart. It's a white flag with a heart. And I asked my sister, I said, "Do you see that flag down there?" And she looked and looked, and she could not. I said, "Right there, right at the flat spot there." And she said, "I don't see it. I'm so sorry, I don't see it." I asked the pilot to make another round, and he did. And I could see it still. This time it was bigger. As he came around, it was a larger flag. And I said, "You must see it now." And she said, "No, I just don't see what you're speaking of." And I smiled at the remarkable wisdom of God, the remarkable story that I've been living, and the remarkable future that I now know.